Welcome to Release to Results. It's our Course in Miracles series, letting go as we go through the lessons from the workbook. And how about yesterday? There is nothing to fear. If you had any experiences with that yesterday, please feel free to comment, or anytime you have any experiences as you go through these lessons, whatever's coming up for you, whatever you release on, whatever you have as a result. Because the results are coming constantly. The results of your inner state are consistently showing up around you. As you shift it, you may witness the miraculous occurring for you in your life, and you may begin to see it throughout the day in every moment. It's really powerful to allow yourself to allow these ideas to work upon you and to release anything that's coming up for you other than what the lessons are suggesting, and come to discover things like the idea for today that God's voice speaks to you all through the day. We don't need to know what's going to happen. What are we afraid of regarding this process of letting go of the illusions which we've been carrying and subscribing to, and experiencing what's actually there? What are you afraid of? Could you let that go? And have you been noticing that there's two parts of your mind? There's one that's peaceful and silent, and everything's going just as it's going in wholeness and holiness. And there's another in which there's this frantic fear and concern and worry, distraught, seeing all these wild illusions. Could you try to identify with the part of your mind where stillness and peace reign forever? Just allowing anything other than that stillness and peace to come up. It's okay. It's okay. We are all, most of us anyway, very rare not to be caught up in wild, frantic, distraught illusions. So when these come up for you, could you notice how that's feeling? Could you ignore these thoughts that are other than the voice of God? And could you allow that energy to come up and to move? Could you be with it? Could you welcome it? Just something that's been carried. And could you let it go? Just follow along as best you can with this releasing process as we go through the lesson for today, lesson 49. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Now you could have your eyes open, or you could have your eyes closed. It's suggested to have your eyes closed. Be very still, opening your mind and going past all the raucous shrieks and sick imaginings that cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with God. Could you just sink into the peace that waits for you beyond these frantic, riotous thoughts and sights and sounds of this insane world? Could you just sink into your being for just a moment? Just allowing yourself to be, ignoring the thoughts, going beyond the feelings, going beyond the body in your being. Nothing wrong with any of the thoughts or feelings of this body. Might seem like it. Could you just allow yourself to be, just for now, that which notices all of this stuff? And the idea of today, God's voice speaks to you all throughout the day. As your being, you may actually hear your true thoughts, this voice which is always there, which wants you to hear it. Could you allow yourself to be with that voice which has been speaking to you? And you may be there and allowing that experience God's voice speaking to you throughout this moment and that moment. Though other things do come up, and that's okay. If you've noticed any thoughts, sights, sounds, energy of the insane world, if there's any of that that comes up for you, could you just allow it up? Not judging, not moralizing, not good or bad, just seeing something that's coming up, obscuring what's available to you. And could you allow it up and feel whatever it is that would obscure what lies beneath? And could you surrender this energy, these thoughts? Just could you surrender? Would you surrender if you could? Allowing yourself to be, to hear what's beneath the surface, beneath what would obscure what you are. Could you just surrender anything and everything other than that in this moment? Would you surrender anything other than what you are? And perhaps in this peace and silence, you can hear what really is God's voice that speaks to you throughout the day. Just being in silence and stillness, available and hearing that which you are, God's voice speaking to you throughout the day. And you may notice that there's some temptation, some pull of the world, some worldly thought, some difficulty, something you seem to have to do something about. And can you just notice that those thoughts are resisting this silence, this peace, this voice that waits for you, that speaks to you? Can you notice any resistance taking the form of feelings and thoughts that seem to be about the world? And could you just allow that resistance up? It's okay. It happens. There is nothing power need fight. It's just there. Could you open up and allow up any resistance to your being in stillness and peace and hearing the voice of God speaking to you? It's okay to resist. It happens. Could you allow any resistance, however that's showing up for you? And could you release that resistance? Would you release anything that obscures the stillness and peace that you are? When could you release anything other than stillness and peace and God's voice speaking to you now. God's voice speaks to you throughout the day. That's even now. What does he say? Are you in stillness and peace and available to hear? For those that have ears to hear and eyes to see, can perceive the truth. God's voice is speaking to you throughout the day. Could you allow yourself to be just for now in stillness, in silence, in peace? Just being just for now. And could you notice this idea? God's voice speaks to you throughout the day. And could you just be? And something may arise, something may occur that seems to be other than this stillness and this peace, other than your being. It's okay. Could you notice anything obscuring what you are that comes up? It's coming up because you have a choice. You could hold on to this illusion, or you could let it go. What would you allow to obscure your being? And could you allow that up, whatever's been there, whatever's coming up for you, other than your being, still quiet? Could you open up and notice something that's passing through? The truth that you are always remains. Many things pass through. Could you let it be passing through? Could you let it come up? Feel whatever you're feeling, ignoring the thoughts, allowing this energy to move. Could you feel it more? And could you release whatever's there? The truth will remain. Would you release any illusion, anything obscuring your being? When could you release and be with the thoughts of God? God's voice speaks to you throughout the day. Could you be with that voice? Could you just be available for what is? Or you may always be, though there could be some resistance to just being, just hearing, noticing God's voice, God's thoughts throughout the day. There could be some resistance to that as it seems like there's something else. Something else comes up to cover up your silence, your peace, your being. And could you just allow any resistance or denial of that being, anything that comes up for you? It's okay to resist being what you are. It's quite common, though it's just a choice. Could you allow any energy of resistance or denial of just being what you are? Thoughts of an insane world, going behind the thoughts, noticing the energy behind such insanity that would perpetuate it. Could you just let it up? It's okay. Insane isn't good or bad. It's just, am I going to keep going insane? Could you allow this energy up? And could you surrender any resistance to your being? Would you surrender any resistance to being still and listening to God's voice speaking to you throughout the day? When could you surrender the resistance and be still and peaceful and hear God's voice speaking to you throughout the day? And could you just be with that voice? Could you just be in the stillness, the wholeness, that which you are when you no longer identify with the insane world? Could you be with God's voice speaking to you throughout the day in constant communication with God? And check in with this idea throughout the day. Could you pause throughout the day, closing your eyes and being with that voice? Well done releasing. Please feel free to comment and share what comes up for you as you go through this day. And tomorrow we'll go into lesson 50. I am sustained by the love of God. And we do a lot of releasing of insanity, of illusion, of that which is not really what we are at release2results.com. You can bring up your own topics. This is a topic session based on A Course in Miracles, but we could release on whatever you want to release on. Come and join us in one of our live open topic sessions at release2results.com for free. And see you in more of these lessons. Have the best day ever.